you can draw this in Procreate. During this easy Procreate tutorial, I will be guiding you through the steps of creating this cute storybook character. We'll start by creating some easy shapes with flat colors. Then we will be working on our background, making use of watercolor and chalk brushes. And then finally, we will start adding all the detail to our cute boy character. Once you have reached the end of this tutorial, I am sure you will feel proud. Just like these flow creators, they have shared their results from previous tutorials by tagging me in the image, not just in the description, on Instagram, just like my friends at Patreon did. Just check out these amazing results. If you can't get enough of Procreate tutorials, or if you want to improve your drawing and painting skills, then Patreon is the place for you. I have more than 150 tutorials over there, ranging from beginner levels to more advanced levels. And of course, it's also a great way to support this channel and to make sure that I can keep creating these free tutorials every week. Now for this tutorial, we'll be working on a canvas that is 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. I have linked the color palette in the description, and we will be using some brushes from my free Procreate treasure chest. So if you don't already have it, please go to freefromflow.com to get it. It's totally free. But now let's grab our pencils and get this started. Let's start by dropping in a color for our background. Let's go and grab this one over here, first color in the first row, and let's just drag it onto our canvas. Now let's create our underground. We'll do that on a new layer, so we'll go to the layer menu and then we'll tap the plus for a new layer. And then for the brush, we will go to the treasure chest brush pack. I have it up here, and then we will use, where is it? We will use the round chalk brush. It is a nice textured brush, super easy to use, and this time we will pick this fourth color in the second row. Now the opacity of this brush is at 100%, and the size, let's set that to, well, let's make it even bigger, maybe 60%. And now we are going to color the underground like this. We'll make horizontal strokes, go up a little bit higher. Just color it in by hand. Make sure that you fill everything. And we'll go about this high. Now we'll create another layer. So we'll go back to the layer menu, we'll tap the plus, and on this layer, we'll start creating the head of our character. And to do that, we will use a different brush, a Procreate standard brush. We will go to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. And for the color, we will grab this first color in the third row. Now the opacity of the brush is at 100%. We don't want a transparent head. And the size is at 30%. And now let's just draw a circle. Like this, then hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape, and let's hold one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. And then let's drag in a color to fill the shape. And now we will change the shape of this head a little bit. I don't want it to be perfectly round. Let's go to the magic wand and then to liquefy. We will set it to push with distortion and momentum set to none, and you can play around with the size. Let's set it to around 60%, for instance. And we are going to push on this side to make that area a bit more flat, and the bottom area as well. So it should be shaped a bit like this. Maybe we can make the brush a little bit smaller, like 50%, to get a bit of a more flat area here. That will be the side of the face. I think something like this should work. Now let's make another layer, and we will put that on a layer underneath this one. So first let's tap this one, then we'll tap the plus to make a new layer appear under our head layer. And then for our color, let's grab this one over here. That's the seventh color in the third row, and we'll stick with our monoline brush. And now we will create like a bean shape for the body, a bit like this. And we'll drag in the color, and then we'll make another layer on top of this. We'll tap the plus, And then for the color, we will grab this one over here, third color in the third row. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger. We'll set it to 65%. And then let's draw a neck. We'll make slightly diagonal line like this. This guy has a very thin neck. Then we'll make another layer. We'll tap the plus, and this time we will grab this color over here, ninth color in the third row, and we will make the sleeves of his jacket. We'll start by creating one over here. So a long sausage-like shape, and you can color it in. And another one on this side. A little bit below that body shape, we can close the shape. Then we can make this one a little bit longer too. Then to remove this section properly, we can go to the layer with the body, we can tap it and then use select. Do make sure that color fill is not turned on. Then we can go back to the layer with the sleeves. We can tap and hold the eraser to make it switch to the monoline brush. And then we can go along this edge and remove that. All right, then for the legs, let's make that on a layer underneath the body. So first tap this layer, then tap the plus. We can also tap the S shape ribbon to turn off the selection. And then for the legs, we will use this color over here. Ninth color in the second row. And first, let's make a line like this. Let's also make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's set it to 30% again. So we'll make a line going down. And we'll make a line over here with a slight curve. Then we'll make another diagonal line here for the other leg. And a line like this. It still looks a bit weird right now, but we'll be okay. Make this a little bit broader, make sure that they have a similar size. And drag in the color. And we can go in here and carve it a little bit. We can go back to the eraser and carve those legs until you have a shape that you like. I might want to make that body a little bit smaller. Let's go to that layer. Then let's go to the magic wand, then to liquefy. And then we can push this up a little bit. Just like this. Then I want to make a layer underneath. So tap the trousers first, then tap the plus. And then for the color, let's grab this one. 10th color in the second row. And then we'll make a little band right underneath. Then I want to make a collar around its neck. And I need that layer to be on top of the body layer. And let's place it behind the neck. So let's tap that body layer, then tap the plus. Then for the color, we'll grab this one over here, second color in the second row. And then let's start about here and make a wavy shape around the neck. Stop here. Then go back down. Now I do see that the arms are on top. So let's actually place those underneath by dragging them down. Then we can go back here and let's drag in the color. Then we can grab the eraser to carve it a little bit. Make it a bit more pointy here. So go for a shape that looks something like this. And I also want a little gap over here so that you'll see the blue. So just a little triangle here. Then we can go back to the brush and make it a bit more pointy, like this. And I want to make another color on top of the neck. So first tap the neck layer, then tap the plus. Then for the color, grab this one over here, 5th color in the 3rd row. And then let's just make an oval shape like this. We'll just go over the neck. We'll go down here. Make a shape like this. And of course we can carve it a bit with the eraser like this so that that other color goes over it. And then we need to select the neck. So we need to go to the neck layer, layer 5, we'll tap it, then tap select. Then we'll go to that color layer again, grab the eraser, and then erase a part. Let's go for something like this. Then tap the S-shaped ribbon again to get out of there. Now let's go back to the legs. Let's make a layer on top of the trousers, or actually we can just use this layer over here. We can work on that one. Then we need to grab this color again, 10th color in the 2nd row. And let's go in here and add an extra band, a bit rounded like this, and on this side a little bit rounded. And of course here as well, you can just grab the eraser, carve apart until you are happy. This is the great thing about working on separate layers. You can just erase parts without erasing anything on the other layers. So we have these. Now for the shoes. We need the shoes to be on a layer underneath the trousers and underneath this layer. So let's go here to layer 2 and tap the plus. And then for now, let's just grab this red for the shoes. 9th color in the 3rd row. And then over here, let's make a shape. Go forward, then down, then curve back. Then close the shape and drag in the color. And then another shoe over here. It looks a little bit bigger, so let's make this one a little bit bigger as well. Make sure to close the shape, drag in the color, and of course again you can grab the eraser to nicely create some crisper edges. I actually wanted to have like some angles. So they should be shaped a bit like this. Maybe we can cut off a little part here and a little bit over here. There. Then for a backpack, we need the backpack to be underneath the other layers, at least underneath the layers of the upper body. So let's just go to the trousers, then tap the plus for a new layer. And then for the color, let's grab this one for now. 3rd color in the 2nd row. And then let's make a rounded shape like this first, going down and back in this direction. Then over here, it'll be a bit flat. And then we'll curve down like this. And make sure to close the shape before you drag in the color. So he has a nice big backpack going out on his adventure. And then it also needs some straps. Let's place those on a layer on top of the body. Let's tap the plus. And then for the color, let's use this one, 2nd color in the 1st row. Let's go in here, make a strap like this, go back up, curve here, drag in the color, Then over here, you'll also see a little bit of the band. And then you can grab the eraser, carve it a little bit. Maybe remove a little bit over here. Now let's also give him some hands. We can do that on the layer on which we have the neck. For the color, let's grab this one, second color in the third row. And let's just create a very simple shape. Something like this. And we are going over the arm. But we can fix that later. Down on this side. Something shaped like this. Then we can go to the sleeves layer, tap it, then use select, then go back to the layer with the hands, grab the eraser, and erase that part. I actually also want an extra little band at the bottom of these sleeves. Let's just draw that on this layer over here on which we have the color. And let's also use that same color, the fifth color in the third row. And then let's add an extra band right on top here. Of course, we will need to erase a little part again, but that's fine. Something like this. Then we'll go back to the sleeves layer, tap it, use select, then go back to this layer, grab the eraser, and then get rid of that little edge. Then tap the S shape ribbon again to get out of there. And now we have these extra parts. Next, let's move on to the face. To start with the face, I'd first like to add a few guidelines. Let's go on top there, on top of the head, then tap the plus. Then let's grab a sketching brush. Let's just go to the sketching brushes that are already in Procreate and use the 6B pencil. Then let's just grab a dark color, a dark gray. The opacity of the brush is at 100% and the size is at 50%. And then let's think of where the middle line of the face would be. Now the head is turned to our left, so that center line would be about here. That's the center line of the face, roughly. And in that center would be the nose. And also the mouth would be close to it. And there would be one eye to the left of that line. And the other one would be to the right. And we'll make them nice and big to add to that cuteness. I'm gonna move it slightly to the right. So we'll have these big eyes, an eyebrow on the left and on the right side. And then we'll have one ear over here. And we'll just make these semicircles. We'll keep them very simple. And another ear over here. So just a semicircle like this. Very simple shapes. Also the irises with a pupil inside. And then right here will be like the hairline. I think we can go even bigger with the eyes actually. But this is just a sketch on top. So it'll just be a guide. And you can make it as rough and messy as you like. So now that we have this, we can use this as, like I said, a guide for our shapes. Let's first just lower the opacity of this layer. Let's tap the N and then slide to the left. And then let's first go to this layer again, grab the monoline brush under calligraphy and grab the color that we used. That's the first color in the third row. And then let's add that ear. Shape like this. Let's drag in a color. I think we can also carve a little bit off the head. Let's grab the eraser and go in here and remove a little part. And perhaps also over here, go up a little bit towards that ear. Go for something like this. I want that ear to be on a separate layer so we can color that individually from the face. So let's make a new layer underneath our head. First go here, then tap the plus, and then let's just grab another color so it's clear that these are different shapes. Let's grab this one, second color in the third row, and then let's add this ear. Drag in the color, and then let's move on to the eyes. So let's make a new layer on top of the face. Let's tap the plus. And then for our color, we will grab this one over here, fourth color in the third row. And let's just follow our sketch. Let's just draw a circle over here, hold your pen in place. You can use ellipse here at the top to adjust it a little bit. We'll go for something like this, then drag in the color, and then make another one over here. Hold your pen in place, then go to edit, and I'm placing it nicely along that edge, and then drag in the color. Then let's make a layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus, and for the color, let's grab this one, second color in the second row, so we can create the irises. Let's hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape. And of course you can use ellipse or edit at the top. Create something like this, then drag in the color, and then make another one over here. Use edit or ellipse, whatever it says. Move it a little bit, and then drag in the color. Then for the pupils, let's put those on a new layer again. Let's tap the plus. Then for the color, let's grab this one, sixth color in the third row. And then let's add a little pupil. Hold your pen in place, use ellipse, tweak it a little bit, placing it pretty high here. And then drag in the color. Then for another one, make an oval, go to ellipse or edit, move it up here and drag in the color. Then for the nose and mouth, let's put those on a separate layer as well. But before we do that, we can actually pinch the iris and the pupil together. Then let's tap the plus for the nose. For the nose, let's grab this color, second color in the third row, and let's draw another oval. Hold your pen in place, use edit, and place it about here, and drag in the color. Then for the mouth, we'll grab the light color again, the fourth color in the third row. Let's make a triangular shape like this. Then use the eraser to get those crisp, pointy parts. Carve it a little bit like this. On this layer, we can also make the eyebrows. Let's use a different brush for that. Let's go to the calligraphy brushes and use the script brush. And for this brush, the harder you press, the thicker your brush stroke will become. So if we press lightly, we can get thin lines. And for the color, let's use this one, second color in the second row. And let's place an eyebrow like this, a little bit curved, thin pointy ends, and one over here. Slightly tilted upward. And of course for this as well, you can definitely use the eraser if you need to carve it a little bit, or if it has become too big. So it should look something like this. Then let's work on the hair. Let's make a layer on top of our sketch layer actually. Let's tap the plus. Let's stick with this color. And let's also stick with the brush. But we do need to select the brush and not the eraser. And then let's start here and make a pointy shape like this. I'll just make spikes along its head. Just some random looking spiky parts. Curve along this side. And then go to the ear. Then around. Make a shape over here. Pointy parts in front of its face. So you can go for something like this. Make sure that the shape is closed. I might have some gaps. Let's check it out. Yeah, it's fully closed. Then you can just go along some of those areas if you want them to be a bit more pointy. If it needs some tidying up, or maybe you have some gaps. Here we don't want to go over the ear. You can of course grab the eraser if you need to carve it out a little bit. Same goes for the spiky parts if you want them to look nice and crisp. You can do that by going along with the eraser. I might want to add a little bit more volume here. Now, of course, you could grab your brush and just draw some extra, or you could go to the magic wand, use liquify, make the brush a bit bigger, like 64, and then just pull it up a little bit. Sometimes this can be easier than drawing, just moving things around with the liquify tool or carving with the eraser until you have a shape that you are pleased with. I think this looks nice. Now we can turn off our sketch layer, or actually we can remove it by sliding to the left and tapping delete. And then let's check it out. Now for the cute effect, I actually think that we can make the head even bigger. Now to do that, we can just go and select all the features of the face and of the head. So select all of these, and then we can go to the move and transform tool. That's the arrow up here. Then make sure to set it to uniform. And then you can just use these handles to make the head a little bit bigger. You can also tilt it a little bit. So you can make the head bigger, and I think we can make the body a little bit smaller. So let's go to the other layers. Let's select all of those by sliding to the right, then go to the move and transform tool and use the handles to make it a little bit smaller. And I think the trousers could go even smaller than this. So now we can go back, we select everything that belongs to the trousers. That's this. Actually, it's connected to that, so that's quite unfortunate, but we can manage. Then the trousers and the shoes. Then let's go to the move and transform tool. Make this a little bit smaller. It'll just make it look a bit cuter. Let's turn off snapping here in case you have it turned on like me. So just a little bit smaller. And I also want this leg to be a little bit longer. Now we can set this to distort and then drag this handle to make that leg a little bit longer. You can make this one a little bit shorter. You can just twist it a bit. And let's also push it up a little bit. So now our character has some smaller legs, a bigger head. Now let's just move him downward entirely, just a little bit. Let's select all of the layers again by sliding to the right. Then go to the move and transform tool and place him downward a little bit. I think this is perfect. Just tap the arrow again. So these are some ways to make adjustments to your character, to your drawing, without having to do things all over again. This is just really the great thing about digital art. Now, before we continue refining our character, let's work on our background and set the scene for this boy. Now, let me move this to the center. Let's start with our sky. Let's go to this layer where we just have that blue. Then for the color, let's grab this one, second color in the first row. And then for the brush, we will go back to the treasure chest brush pack. And then we will grab, where is it? There are so many brushes in here. Where is it? Yeah, the round watery brush. We'll use that to add a watery sky, a very abstract sky. Let's make the brush bigger, maybe 50%. Opacity is at 100%. And let's just go over the sky here at the top. And as long as you don't lift your pen, you don't get new paint. Every time you lift your pen, you will get new fresh paint, making it darker. And we're going for a bit of an autumn look. I guess it's a bit of a cloudy day. Maybe rain is coming. Perhaps you're longing for autumn after a hot summer. And this is a perfect illustration. Just make rounded motions and add some little dabs in some places for some nice extra texture. Make the top part nice and dark. So let's make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for 20% and add some little dabs as well. Just for some extra interest. Perhaps some here. And then let's switch to another color. Let's grab this one, fourth color in the first row. Let's make the brush a bit bigger again, 50%, and add some of this green behind our character. Again, with rounded motions. And perhaps you have noticed that the color scheme we're using here is a complementary one. These are contrasting colors, and that adds more interest to the illustration. If you go to your color menu in Procreate and then you go to Harmony, and then here you can set it to complementary, then you can see that these colors, these blues and oranges, are opposite of each other on the color wheel. And using colors that are opposite on the color wheel really adds interest to your illustration. Now let me go back to this area and then grab this color again, fourth color in the first row, and add a little bit more. But if you want to learn more about color theory, then in the treasure chest, there's also an ebook about color theory. It's totally free, so be sure to check that out. Let's also grab this color, third color in the first row, for some darker blue touches. And just rounded motions. A little bit over here. And then I want to create some pine trees. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for 10%. Make one over here, for instance. First a line up, and then we'll make these downward strokes to create the effect of a pine tree. One over here as well. Downward strokes, a bit diagonally. And over here. I'm keeping it very simple, but this will become an interesting background for our character. Then we can go even smaller. Let's go for, well, let's say 2%. For some darker touches, a few more details on these trees. Just some dabs like this. And over here. Something like this looks perfect. Then let's make a new layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus. Then for our brush, let's go back to that round chalk brush. And for the color, let's grab this one. That's the 7th color in the first row. Now let's make some big bushes with rounded shapes, almost like a cloudy shape. So something like this. Let's color it in. Let's make one over here as well. Also a bit like a cloudy shape. Color that in as well, just by hand. Then for some color variety, let's grab this color. That's the 7th color in the 2nd row. Let's add some blue touches. Just a bit like this. And on this one as well. Then let's switch to that round watery brush. And let's make that nice and big. So 50% again. And then let's just go over here and make that a bit more watery. Blend that a little bit. Just like this. Maybe we can make it a little bit lighter. So we can actually switch back to the round chalk brush. Grab that previous color again, 7th color in the first row. And go over here and make that a bit lighter again. Over here as well. Just play around with these effects with these different brushes. We can go back to the round watery and blend this in a little bit as well. Now let's grab that blue again. You can grab the previous color actually by tapping and holding the circle here. We can nicely blend this. Now let's go back to the round chalk brush again. Then let's grab this color, 2nd color in the first row. And let's just add a few of these round shapes. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 25%. Just add some of these shapes as extra touches. We will really build plants and stuff on top of each other. And just these little things will add interest. Next, let's make a layer underneath this one. So first go to layer 1, then tap the plus. And then for the color, let's grab this one, 9th color in the first row. And we will make some trees here at the top. Let's first make a shape over here. And one over here. Color it in. And these will also have some branches. Let's make the brush smaller, like 7%. Add some of these random branches. And over here, a big one. This will nicely frame our character, having all these elements around him. We can also make some thinner branches by using the fine liner brush, which is also part of the treasure chest brush pack. Let's set the size to 10%. Opacity is at 100. And let's just add some thinner lines. You can make it a bit more tidy. Something like this is fine. Now let's also add some texture here. So let's turn on alpha lock and then let's grab the, what shall we do? The Is It Grunge brush. And then let's grab a lighter blue color like this one, 2nd color in the first row. The opacity of this brush is at 100% and the size is at 52. And then let's go over the lower area, add a bit of that lighter blue, and a little bit of texture. Then let's switch back to the round chalk brush and grab a warm color, this one over here, 10th color in the first row. And let's add some random strokes along the side to add some variety and also give it a bit of that feel of tree bark. Now I want to add some more bushes on this layer. So first we need to turn off alpha lock, otherwise we won't be able to draw on this layer. So tap the layer, turn off alpha lock, and then for the color we will grab this one over here, 5th color in the first row. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 25%. And let's make some rounded bushes here. So we'll get some nice color variety over here as well. And also just some random ovals that are floating. Stuff like that can happen in storybook illustrations. Doesn't all have to make sense. Maybe over here too. Now let's grab a darker color. Let's grab this one, 3rd color in the first row for a few darker blotches. Also just floating around. Next, let's grab this color, 6th color in the first row. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 8%, and add some of these other strokes, just some lines like this, as if this is grass. Then let's grab this local color here that is also a bit bluish, but a bit lighter than this one. Now let's go along here, add some of these darker grassy parts. Now let's move back to this layer. Let's turn on alpha lock here. I want to add a light edge and I don't want to go outside of the shape. And for the color, we will grab this color over here, 8th color in the first row. And let's just go along the edges, and you can see that we won't be going outside of them because alpha lock is turned on. And we'll go along the edges and add some of these gentle highlights. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 20%. And just go along these edges. Perhaps add a little bit of an extra dab. So you get something like this. Now let's move on to the underground. That's this layer. Let's turn on alpha lock here as well. I want to add some more color here. So tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, and then let's first grab this color over here. 3rd color in the 3rd row. And let's just go over some of these areas. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 30%. Let's add some of these reddish tones to our underground, and also at the same time add some nice texture here. I also want to go lighter with this color, 6th color in the 2nd row, and I want that added here in the background. Just behind the character. Then let's switch to a darker color. We'll use this one over here. That's the 10th color in the first row. It has a bit of a purplish touch, purplish hue. And that'll be nice for the shadow area here in front of our boy. This is a pretty dark area. We want the focus to be on our character. Then let's also add some random blotches. Let's grab this color, for instance, 4th color in the 2nd row. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 8%. And let's add some dabs here, for instance. Some over here. Let's also switch the color to this one, 10th color in the first row, for some darker patches as well. And then for some lighter patches, let's use this one, 4th color in the 3rd row. Let's be very gentle. I don't want it to be too light. So you get something like this. Now let's add a nice big rock to our scene. Let's tap the plus on this layer so that it's on top of our underground. And then let's grab this color. That's the 7th color in the 2nd row. And we will use that to create a big rock over here. It's shaped like this. And we'll color it in. You can make the brush a bit bigger, like 35. Doesn't really matter as long as you can easily color it in. So something like this. And then let's add some shading. Let's turn on alpha lock on this layer. So tap it, turn on alpha lock. Then let's grab this color again, 10th color in the 1st row. And let's just add some warm touches here. And I also want some dark touches from this color, 9th color in the 1st row. And let's add that on this side. And then at the top, we need some light. Let's grab this color, 8th color in the 1st row, no 2nd row, 8th color, 2nd row. And that will go on the top of this rock that is hit by light. And I want this area to be a bit more blended. Now what you can do is just go and grab that round watery brush again. Then let's grab the color of the rock, this one, 7th color in the 2nd row. And let's just go over here and blend this a little bit. Then we'll grab the fine liner brush. It's up here, and we'll grab that dark color, that 9th color in the 1st row. And let's add some lines, some little details along that edge. And over here, perhaps some cracks. So something like this. Then I'd like to make another rock on top of this one. So let's tap the plus. Let's grab the round chalk brush again. And then let's grab the color for our rock again, which is the 7th color in the 2nd row. And then let's make another one in front of here, in front of the other rock. This one is a bit more rounded. Then let's add the shading. So first tap the layer, turn on alpha lock. Then let's grab that dark blue color, 9th color in the 1st row, and go over the bottom area, adding some shadow. And then for the top part, we'll need this blue again, the 8th color in the 2nd row. And add a little touch at the top. Next, we need some more plants. Now, once you're happy with these rocks, you can actually merge them together. And now let's make a new layer on top by tapping the plus for some plants. Let's first grab this color over here, 3rd color in the 2nd row. And I want to use that to create a plant over here, which has these oval or almost like bean shaped leaves. Just make some of these random shapes here. Something like this. Then let's switch color. Let's grab this one over here, 5th color in the 2nd row. Make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for 15%. And make a plant over here as well. But I want those leaves to be a bit more like pointy. You can really create random shaped leaves actually. Just go wild. So something like this. Now let's switch to this color, fourth color in the second row for another plant. I want that to look a bit like this, a bit more long with leaves like this. And let's also make a more greenish plant. Let's use this color, fourth color in the first row, and add a big leaf over here. I also want to add some leaves to the top. Let's go back to this color, third color in the second row. And let's add some leaves just floating around a bit at the top near those branches. Just like this. Big one over here. Just vary the sizes. And they can definitely float around. They don't have to be attached. It actually looks a bit playful if they're not. Now let's grab the eraser. Let's tap and hold. And let's go along these leaves and make them a bit more pointy shaped. Add some crisp edges just to make them look a bit more like abstract. For these as well, just go along the sides. So you get something like this. You can actually also refine these, of course, if you want them to look a bit more pointy. And then let's start adding texture to these. Let's go to the layer, tap it and turn on alpha lock. And then let's first grab the Is It Grunge brush again. And for the color, let's grab this one. Second color in the first row, no, second row, second color, second row. And then let's go over just gently adding some slight texture over here as well. And then let's grab a lighter color like this one, sixth color in the second row. Let's use that over here. And then let's also grab this color, fourth color in the second row, and go over these. And then let's grab the fine liner brush. Where is it? There it is. And let's stick with this color and go in here. Let's set the size to 6%. And let's add these lines to these leaves, just like this. This creates an interesting pattern. Then over here, let's first grab this color, second color in the second row, to go over here. And for this one, I want to use a lighter color. Let's use this one, sixth color in the second row. And let's just go over and add these shapes. Then for these leaves, I just want to add little highlight edges, just on a few. We can just go along the side of these leaves. Just like this. Now we need a branch for this one and that one. Let's do that on a layer underneath. So first tap this layer, then tap the plus. And then let's grab this color over here, seventh color in the second row. And let's use that over here. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 10%. and add these branches. And then for this one, we can just grab that local color and add a branch like this. All right, now let's add some more random plants. Let's make a new layer on top of this plant layer. We can actually merge these together now. Then we can tap the plus, and then let's first grab this color, for instance. First color in the second row. And what brush do we have? The fine line. Let's just switch to the round chalk. And let's make it small, 2%. And for instance, let's add some of these grassy leaves, pointy things. I'm just going to make a bunch of random shapes to add some interest here. Let's also grab a lighter color, the second color in the second row, for some more of these leaves. Just in random directions. We just want to have a lot going on here. You can also add some random floating particles. Let's make the brush a bit bigger, 10%. Let's also do that here. And let's make a leafy shape. And perhaps a little plant like this. And some grassy parts here. We can make the brush smaller. Just play around with the size. I have it set to 2% now, to create some random plants here. Now let's add some texture. Let's turn on alpha lock on this layer. So tap it, turn on alpha lock. Let's grab that Is It Grunge brush. And then let's first grab this dark color, first color in the second row, and go over here and over these. Then let's switch to a lighter color instead, the third color in the second row, and add some lighter texture here and a bit over here. And then let's turn alpha lock off again. So tap the layer, turn off alpha lock. Then let's go and grab that round chalk brush again and a lighter color. Let's actually grab this one, fourth color, second row, and add some more of these random shapes. And also some floating particles over here as well. Just want a bit of that suggestion that there are lots of plants here. And you can also grab the fine liner brush over here and grab a darker color. Let's grab this one, 10th color in the first row, to go over here and add some of these veins, for instance. Now let's add some more random leaves on top. Let's make a new layer on top of this. Let's tap the plus. Let's stick to this color and grab the round chalk brush again. And then let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 10%. Make a shape over here. I hope you can see it on this dark background. So some rounded cloud-like shapes over here, some of these oval shaped leaves covering the others, overlapping. And now we can simply layer these leaves on top of each other. First we can add some texture here, so turn on alpha lock. Then we can grab the Is It Grunge brush again, and perhaps maybe a reddish color, 10th color in the third row. Let's just go over here, add some warmth. We can also add some veins by using the fine liner brush. We can also actually go to recent brushes, then we don't have to scroll. We can just find them here. Use the fine liner brush with this dark blue color, ninth color in the first row, and then add some of these leafy veins. And over here as well. And then layer some more leaves on top. So make a new layer by tapping the plus. You can merge the layers with which you are happy here. Then for the color, let's actually go for this one, 8 color in the third row. And for the brush, we need to go back to the round chalk. And then let's layer some leaves on top here. And over here. This also adds some nice extra warmth. Now let's add texture again. So turn on alpha lock. You can actually also do that by sliding to the right with 2 fingers on your layer. Then let's grab the Is It Grunge brush. And let's grab this color again, 10th color, first row. Add a little bit of texture. Then let's grab the fine liner brush. And let's grab this color, no, another color, this one, first color, second row, should be darker than our leaves. For some leaf veins over here as well. And now we can layer some more on top. We can make one more layer, pinch these together, tap the plus. Let's grab this color again, first color in the first row, and grab the round chalk and layer some more leaves here. And again, add texture by turning on alpha lock, grabbing the Is It Grunge brush, and then a slightly different color. For instance, a bluish color like this, 7th color in the second row. You can use that as well for a little bit of texture. And then the fine liner brush set to the dark blue color, 9th color in the first row, to add some veins. I think we've added some nice, interesting shapes to our foreground. Let's pinch these together. Let's just add some more of those floating particles. Let's use this color, 3rd color in the second row. Let's use the round chalk brush. Set it to a small size, like 3%. And let's just add a few more of those particles in between. Perhaps a few here. And let's also grab this color and add a few of these grassy parts here in the background. So now that's enough for the background of our character. Let's continue adding texture and more details to our character. So let's go to the eyes layer first. And actually we can merge all the background layers together now once you're happy. So we have one background layer. Then let's move to the eyes. Let's go to this layer first. Tap it and turn on alpha lock. Then for the color, grab this one, 5th color in the 3rd row. And we will use the round chalk brush. We already have it. Let's make it a little bit bigger, 10%. Let's go in here and add this shadow side. Add this color to the eyeball with a curved line like this, and over here as well. Then we'll add a darker outline to the eye, and let's use this color for that. 2nd color in the 2nd row, and let's go along the outer edge like this, creating a little outline around the eyeball. Don't go all around, make it a little bit thicker at the top and then thinner as you move down here. Let's do the same over here. Go along the edge and down here. Then for some shadow on the iris on this layer, let's make a new layer on top of this one by tapping the plus. And then we can set this layer to clipping mask so that whatever we draw here, it'll only show up on the iris. Then tap the N and scroll up to multiply so that the colors will become darker. Now we can use the same color and go over this top area, and both the iris and the pupil will darken a bit. I feel this is a bit too much, so let's lower the opacity. You can do that by tapping the M here and sliding to the left. I'll set it to 42%. And then once you're happy, you can pinch these together. And then let's also add a little highlight. We can use this color for that fourth color in the third row. And let's use the fine liner brush. And let's just add a tiny little highlight here and over here on this side. And then you can actually pinch these eye layers together. Then let's move on to the face. Let's tap this layer, turn on alpha lock so we won't be able to go outside of the shape. Then let's grab this color, second color in the third row. Let's grab the round chalk brush again. And let's set the size of the brush to 35%. Then let's go underneath the eyebrows here first. Just gently, and make a rosy cheek here. Go along the side of the face, here at the top, underneath this eyebrow, and this cheek, and over the ear. Then let's blend it a little bit by using that round watery brush. Well, let's go in here and soften this a little bit. See, that will nicely blend it. And add some more warmth to the face. Then let's go back to the round chalk brush and grab a darker color, this third color in the third row. And we'll go along the hairline. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 25%. And over here. And along this line. And the side of the face. Also underneath the eyebrow here, let's make the brush even smaller, 15%. A little bit of a shadow area. Also underneath the chin here, towards the ear, and inside the ear. Make a shape like this. Little dark edge underneath here. So you get something like this. Then let's also switch to the fine liner brush and add a few like freckles. A few here on the cheek, a few over here, and on this side. Then let's grab this color over here. That's the 8th color in the third row. And let's use that to add a line over here for the ear. Then I want a little highlight along the edge. I want to grab the round chalk brush for that again. And the light color here, 6th color in the second row. Well, let's go along the side of the face here. And along the cheek. Nice little rim light. Also along here. And on top of the ear here. Then let's move to the nose. Is that this shape? No, that's the ear. We can actually move to the ear first. Let's tap it and turn on alpha lock. And then let's grab that darker color, 3rd color in the 3rd row, and add a bit of that here. Also a little bit on the underside. Then for the highlight, we need this color again, 6th color in the 2nd row, and add a little bit of light at the top. And then we'll move to this color again, 8th color in the 3rd row, and use the fine liner brush for a little line over here as well. Now for the nose and the mouth and the eyebrows. Let's tap that layer, turn on alpha lock. Then let's first grab this 3rd color again in the 3rd row, grab the round chalk brush, and go along the underside of the nose, adding a bit of a shadow there. Make a rounded shape like this. Then for the eyebrows, let's grab this color, 1st color in the 2nd row, and go along the underside and add a bit of a shadow there. Now once you're happy with these features, you can actually pinch them together like this. And then we'll grab this 8th color again in the 3rd row and grab the fine liner brush for some final lines here. Let's go in and make a line on the nose, for instance, like this, and along the mouth like this. Now look how happy our little boy looks. Now he just wants us to work on his hair and on the clothing. Let's start with the hair. Let's go to this layer. Let's tap it and turn on alpha lock. And the first thing I want to do is add some color variety here. Let's do that with the round chalk brush. And I want to add some blue tones, for instance. Let's just grab this color, and that's the 7th color in the 3rd row. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 35%, and go over here, for instance, adding some of those blue tones along the underside, just like this. We can also add some of these tones, that 10th color in the 1st row. It's a bit of a warmer purplish color. I'm just grabbing colors from the surroundings. Just blend them together a little bit. You can also go a bit brighter. We can grab this red color, 9th color in the 3rd row, and add a few bright touches. Then for some highlight, I want to use this color again, 6th color in the 2nd row, and we'll go along the edges of the hair. Now you might need to make the brush a little bit smaller, maybe 10%, and go along those tips for a little rim light around the hair as well. Just go along all these areas. Now let's make the brush a little bit bigger again, 35. Let's add some more light here, maybe some dabs. And also some little sparkles with a smaller brush size, maybe 8%. That's fine. And I want to add some lines to the hair, some extra texture. Let's make a layer on top of this one by tapping the plus. Then we'll set this to clipping mask, and we'll set the layer blending mode to multiply, so that the color will look a little bit different depending on what area you are drawing in. Then for the brush, we will use the fine liner brush again. And for the color, let's go for this one, 10th color in the 1st row. And then we will add some random lines. You don't have to give it too much thought, but that's just some hair going in all directions towards the outside. You can just go for something like this. That'll add some nice texture. This is way too dark. I want it to be more subtle, so we can go to the layer, tap the M, and slide the opacity to the left. I'll go for 32%. Now let's just move down and work on all the different elements. Let's start with its neck. Let's go to this layer over here. Let's tap it, turn on alpha lock, And then for the color, let's grab this one, second color in the third row. And for the brush, we will use the round chalk brush. And then let's just go over this area, adding a tiny bit of light to his neck. Then let's switch to the third color in the third row. For the hands, let's add a little bit of shadow here. Right here, a little bit over here. Then let's go even darker by using this color, 8th color in the third row. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 3%, or an even darker shadow right along that edge and right here. Then for the collar, let's move to this layer. Let's turn on alpha lock, and then let's grab this dark brown, first color in the first row. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 15%. And then let's go over here and add some shadow in the back. Like this. And maybe along this edge. And we could go even darker by adding a multiply layer. Let's tap the plus. Set that layer to clipping mask, so whatever we draw, it'll only show up on this layer, and then tap the N and scroll up to multiply. And then let's just go with this color, go over that neck area here, make that shadow even deeper. Perhaps a little bit over here. I think this looks fine. We can lower the opacity a little bit by tapping the M, sliding to the left. I'll go for 60%, and then I'll pinch these layers together. Then let's go to this layer, which also has a collar, just the other one. Let's tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, and then let's first grab this color, 4th color in the third row. Now let's go over the top area here to add some light. And then we'll go back in and add shadow. Let's use, what color shall we use? Maybe we can use this one, 10th color in the second row. Now let's go over here and darken that up. Let's also use this color over here for these sleeves. I think this could go even a little bit darker. We could just add a multiply layer again. We can tap the plus, set it to clipping mask, tap the N, scroll up to multiply, and then I'd like to add a warmer color. Let's use this one, 3rd color in the second row. Then let's go over here, darken it up a little bit. And then let's lower the opacity. Let's tap the M, slide to the left, and let's go for 50%. As you can see, it's a bit more subtle. It's shouting for attention a bit less, so I like this. I'll pinch these together. Then let's move on to our jacket here on layer 4. Let's tap it, turn on alpha lock, and then let's first add some color variation. Let's grab this color, for instance, 9th color in the first row, and let's use that for some shadow, like here, around those bands, underneath here. You get some nice texture on this vest like this, and it really doesn't need much. And then let's switch to this color, 10th color in the second row. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 5%, and let's go and make a line like this, like for the zipper. But we're keeping it really simple. You don't need a lot of details here. Then let's move to this one. Let's tap that layer, turn on alpha lock, and let's first grab a darker color. Let's grab this one, 10th color in the first row. And let's use that to add a little bit of shadow here, right underneath. do the same over here. Let's move this up a little bit. So add some variety here around his ankles. Let's also use this color over here, 9th color in the 2nd row. Let's use that for some shadow as well. And over here. And then let's switch to the fine liner brush. And then let's just add some lines here. I also like to add a little red touch around those ankles. Let's grab the round chalk brush again, and then grab, what shall we grab? This one, 3rd color in the 3rd row. And let's just go over here, add a slight reddish touch for some variety. And then let's grab this color, 8th color in the 1st row for a little highlight. Let's make the brush quite small, 2%. Add a little highlight edge here and here. I like that. Then for his sweater, let's go to layer 6. Let's tap it, turn on alpha lock, and then let's grab this color over here, 10th color in the 3rd row. And we are going to add some stripes to his sweater. Just like this. Add a stripe pattern. Here it'll curve downward a little bit. And on this side, make these curved lines. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 7%. Go along the arm here. Add a bit more of that darker red. And then what we'll do is add even more shadow here by using a multiply layer again. So we need to tap the plus for a new layer, then set that to clipping mask, then tap the N and scroll up to multiply. And then we can go along this area, for instance. We need some extra shadow there along his belly, on the underside of the sleeve, here as well. A little bit here on the right side and here along his shoulder. We can add a little bit more here. Just shape those sleeves a little bit. And I actually like how dark this is, so we don't need to lower the opacity of the layer. Now let's move on to the trousers. Let's do the backpack last. So let's go to the trousers. We have them over here. Let's tap the layer, turn on alpha lock. But then for the color, you can grab this one over here, 6th color in the 3rd row. And let's add some shadow underneath here. And here we need some folds, diagonal here. A little bit of shadow along the leg. I guess something like this. Let's also use some brown. Let's use this color, 2nd color in the 2nd row, and add something like a little belt buckle here. You can also add a little bit over here as if there is some light reflecting some red off of his shoes. Also, it just adds a bit more color variety. Then let's move on to those shoes. Over here on layer 11, let's tap that layer, turn on alpha lock. And then let's first grab this color, 9th color in the 1st row, and we'll use that for the top of the shoe, like this. And over here. And then let's switch to this color, 10th color in the 2nd row. Let's add that to the side here. And over here. Then we'll switch to this color, 8th color in the second row. And we'll add that to the nose of the shoe. And over here as well. Then we'll grab this color again. You can just tap and hold if you need it. Then we'll go along the lower end. And let's also grab this color, 10th color in the third row. Let's add a little bit of shadow here on the back. And then we'll switch to this one, 4th color in the third row. Let's make the brush nice and small, 2%, and add some of these laces. Now we can also add some shadow. We can just add a multiply layer again, tap the plus, set that to clipping mask, then tap the N and scroll up to multiply. And for the color, let's just grab a bluish color like this one, 7th color in the third row. And let's just go over the underside here and the back a little bit, and over here as well, along the edge. So something like this, and then you can just tweak it by tapping the M and lowering the opacity. I'll go for 60%. And then of course you can simply merge these. Then for the backpack, let's start with the straps. Let's turn on alpha lock on this layer. And then let's actually use this color that we already have in a round chalk brush. Let's just go over here, adding some texture. And over here as well. Now let's go even darker. Let's grab this color, 6th color in the third row. Let's add some shadow here. Let's make the brush a bit bigger, 10%. Let's go here over the top and over here. Then let's grab the fine liner brush. Then we'll create an extra line like this. And over here. And over here on this one. Now let's add a little red touch. Let's grab this color, 9th color in the third row. And add a little like label. And one on this side. It adds a little bit of interest there. Then let's move on to the backpack. It's on this layer. Let's turn on alpha lock here. And then we'll grab the round chalk brush again and a dark brown. Let's start with this one, 2nd color in the second row. And let's go over the back part here. Make a curved shape like this. Then let's grab a lighter color. Let's grab this one, 5th color in the second row, and add some lighter orange here at the top. Perhaps here at the bottom. Let's go even darker for this area. Let's actually add a layer, or do we have a color that is close? Or we could try this one. 1st color in the second row. That might be dark enough for this area. A little bit of a shadow along its back. Yeah, I think this is fine. But if you want to go darker, you can also use a layer set to multiply, of course. And I want some extras. Let's add a new layer for that. Let's tap the plus. And then let's grab this color. It's 5th color in the second row. And let's add a little extra bag here, extra pocket for the bag. And a little strap over here. Let's grab a different color for that. This one, 2nd color in the second row, just so that it stands out. And perhaps a little label over there. We can use this color, 5th color in the 3rd row. And add this. Then let's add some extra touches here. Let's turn on alpha lock. Then let's grab this color, 6th color in the 2nd row, and add some highlights like around this edge and around this handle. And then let's do the same for this layer, for the main backpack layer. Let's also add a highlight along this edge. And then let's pinch these two together. And we can actually turn off alpha lock. We don't need that anymore. And let's grab the fine liner brush and a dark brown. This one over here, 1st color in the 2nd row. And let's just add a few of these outlines for these elements. And this one. Some stitches. And perhaps along this edge as well. There. And that's it. You have made it till the end of the tutorial. I think you should be really proud of yourself. Don't forget to share your results, and if you want to turn this into a streak or feel like drawing a girl next, then I think you might like this tutorial. I would really like to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for the next tutorial.